Lillian, a reserved yet passionate botanist, had spent pretty much her entire life in greenhouses, the place where she felt most at home. While others sought adventure in bustling cities or far-off travels, she found solace in the steady rhythm of nature. Her greenhouse was her sanctuary, filled with exotic plants, some so rare they existed only in the most remote corners of the world. Nothing in her life had prepared Lillian for the strange package that arrived on a crisp autumn morning. A simple unmarked box sat on her doorstep. The air around it carried an unpleasant scent, something metallic and earthy, like damp soil after a storm, but tinged with an undercurrent of decay. Inside was a vine-like plant with deep crimson flowers. Its roots were thick and gnarled, coated in soil that was unnaturally dark and dense. The stench became stronger, filling the greenhouse as she opened and placed it on her workbench. She ran her fingers over the brittle soil, noticing small, jagged fragments scattered within. Leaning in closer, she picked up one of the white pieces. Its color and texture felt unfamiliar, resembling perlite but oddly heavier. She collected a sample of the soil and sent it to a forensic lab, hoping to uncover the composition of the mixture and the source of its strange scent. Meanwhile, she dove into researching the plant itself. Yet, there was not even anything even remotely similar to it. It was as if the plant didn't exist at all. Frustrated, she turned to obscure botanical forums, scouring for folklore, myths, anything that matched its appearance and scent. That's when she found something called Sanguinaria carnis, the bloodroot, a plant dismissed by scientists as mere legend. According to folklore, it could only grow in soil enriched by decomposed human remains, a chilling explanation for the stench emanating from her plant. She laughed it off as a joke, but in the back of her mind, a troubling thought lingered. If the legends were true, it meant someone had sent her a plant cultivated using human bodies. Days later, the forensic lab confirmed her worst fear. The perlite-looking fragments were actually crushed human bones. The bones weren't ancient remains. They were fresh, only a few years old at most. She took her findings to the police, but they remained skeptical, until they ran their own tests and matched the DNA to a missing persons file. Lillian provided everything she knew: the plant, the strange soil, the stench, the chilling possibility that it was all connected to an unknown killer that is still roaming among them. Despite the police's involvement, she couldn't shake the gnawing feel of need to know who had sent her this plant. She enlisted the help of Marcus, a forensic soil analyst, to break down the exact mineral composition of the soil. The unique trace elements pointed to a possible location: a stretch of land near an abandoned farmstead on the outskirts of a decaying rural town. Together, the police and forensic teams investigated the site. What they uncovered was nothing short of a waking nightmare. Shallow graves stretched across the property, eerily resembling a cultivated garden of the dead. The bodies were arranged meticulously, each corpse positioned in a way that seemed almost ceremonial. Above the burials, thriving in the enriched soil, were more crimson-flowered vines. Who was behind the massacre was unclear, but the police were sure they had stumbled upon a deeply disturbed individual. The new case was opened under the file name, the gardener. Lillian feared that the gardener was reaching out to her by sending the plant and drawing her attention into his twisted world. As she returned to her greenhouse, she found it had been vandalized, pots smashed, plants uprooted, but nothing was stolen. Through the darkened glass, she saw movement, a shadow lingering just beyond the reach of the light. Grabbing a pruning shear as a makeshift weapon, she stepped outside with her heart racing. By the time she reached the door, there was no one there. The only sound was the rustling leaves in the breeze and the eerie feeling of someone's presence. The silence lingered, suffocating the air around her. Lillian scanned the darkened garden, still gripping the pruning shear, but the unsettling feeling wouldn't fade. She couldn't shake the thought that this was the gardener, not a vandalism. Lillian's breath caught in her throat as the ground beneath her cracked. The vines from the plant grew at an alarming pace, as though hungry, reaching for her. With sudden force, one of the vines shot upward, coiling around her wrist like a serpent, pulling her toward the soil. She struggled, but the plant's grip tightened, the thorns biting into her skin. Her scream caused the earth beneath her to shift and break apart, while the vines kept pulling and shaking her. Another scream escaped her, and her eyes snapped wide open, finding herself in Marcus's arms. Lillian looked around, confused, seeing that nothing was vandalized, not understanding what had just happened. Marcus explained he had found her unconscious when he entered the greenhouse this morning. As she drank a glass of water, still trying to make sense of the events, she asked him how long she had been unconscious. "Maximum 10 minutes, he replied. "You entered the greenhouse, and about 10 minutes later, I came in to find you on the floor. You should rest for today. And by the way, there's a delivery package outside. Where should I place it?"